Well, the haters gonna hate, 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 and the fakers gonna fake, 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 baby. I'm just gonna making luck, a Dominion podcast.
I don't know when you usually start the audio, what parts they start hearing.
Usually whenever it's funny.
Okay.
Welcome to Making Luck.
A Dominion. Oh, sorry, I forgot you were doing your thing.
That's a great intro. This is a Dominion.
Yeah, this is a Dominion. Welcome to it.
Making Luck podcast.
About a card game.
Wow, we've been doing this for a while, I gotta tell you.
Yeah.
This is episode 51, but for us, I think it's like, we've almost been doing like 50 episodes or something. I don't know.
Yeah, well...
We've been at this for a while.
Yeah, and of course there was this episode we did before we started releasing them.
Yeah.
That were just getting into the groove. Yeah, so this is somewhere between 50 and 57 episodes.
You better believe that episode 55 is going to be special.
Right.
Yeah.
I purposely avoided that number.
Yeah.
Because I know that that's your special number.
It is. It's a really good number.
Yeah.
It appears in a lot of places in my life because I inject it into everywhere in my life, even places it doesn't belong.
Yeah, on your 55th birthday, I imagine like you're just gonna kill yourself or something. Like you can't top that. Like
yeah, I think that seems like the only thing to do.
Yeah,
unless I break the record before then.
What record? Of being alive?
Do you know why 55 is my favorite number?
I do know that.
And actually, every 6 years I try and break my own record, and that's next year.
Oh, so are you actually gonna try to?
If my wife lets me.
It?
She
Yeah.
might tell me that I have a son and it's
you might
stupid.
Die now.
Yeah, so I probably should stop.
That'd be like a really dumb way to die. I'm just gonna throw that out there. Like, you don't want to die doing that.
Yeah.
Like, you want to die doing something cooler than that.
Wait, but that's cool.
Yeah, there are better ways to die.
If you don't know what we're talking about,
I hope you don't.
you probably don't want to know, so it's probably best to keep it that way. But anyway, 55 is the greatest number. So, before we get into talking about the kingdom from last episode, there was one little item of business that I wanted to bring up, and I told Jake to prepare his sphincter, and he said it was ready.
He just like messaged me that at work too.
Yeah.
It was.
But
glad nobody was looking.
He told me it was ready, and so I was perusing over some things a while ago, and I noticed that this guy right here, Jake, he broke top 50 on the leaderboard.
I did do that recently. Yeah.
And I mean, I've often said, oh, well, the leaderboard's not a measure of who's the best in the world, but that doesn't take away from the fact that it is a significant accomplishment to get up that high on the leaderboard.
Thank you, I appreciate it.
So I remember, you've been telling me it's been a goal of yours for a while to get up to level 60.
Yes,
and
it
you
has been.
got there.
Yeah, thank you.
And as part of that, you're ranked higher than 50 on the leaderboard. And so
Appreciate it.
Yeah, and so first of all, I just want to say that you've worked hard to focus on improving your gameplay.
I definitely have.
And that has been correlated with you getting higher on the leaderboard, which usually only happens when you get better at the game, right?
Yeah, definitely. I've definitely been working hard, and I've seen I've seen some results from that, and it's led to me achieving one of my goals, which has been for a while to get to level 60. So I'm happy to have done that.
So I think the biggest thing is probably being critical of your own play.
Yes.
And that happens during the game and also after the game.
Yeah.
And even if you win a game, that doesn't mean you played it perfectly. So all of these things, they have paid off for you, and I think that's definitely a real accomplishment.
Drinking more water is a big one too. Got to make sure you're drinking out of water. Most people don't do that.
If I run out of this, I got more.
Yeah.
This is the sound of Dasani bottles that are not filled with Dasani because I reuse the bottles. They're filled... What?
No,
Why would you not reuse water bottles?
No, it makes actually a lot of sense. I don't know why that's funny.
Look, okay.
I can't think of a reason not to do it.
I don't do it because of the environment. I do it because I like money. It's the same reason we use cloth diapers for Parker. It's not for the environment, although that's a nice side effect. I'm just doing it because we like money.
Right, and so we've discussed money comes from the environment.
Yeah.
That actually makes a lot of sense now that I think about reusing water bottles. I don't do it.
I have like a couple bags in the back if you want to take some home.
I use a Brita filter, but
well, I mean we have a filter on the fridge, and it's pretty good.
Nice.
So anyway, the other thing that I was going to talk about related to you getting top 50 on the leaderboard is I know that you've probably already heard the theme song as the intro to this podcast.
Yeah.
And I mean, I do every night before I go to bed. I sing that to myself, just as a reminder. The hater's gonna hate, and the faker's gonna fake, and it goes on. There are haters, and I know there have been some people out there that have tried to invalidate how much you could be respected as an authority of Dominion based on your rank on the leaderboard, which was BS to begin with. But now haters, go drink your haterade. You don't even have that leg to stand on. Screw you. Go yourself.
Yeah, no, believe me, I echo the sentiment.
But he can't say it because then he comes across as not humble.
Right.
And so I'm saying it for him.
I might say it either way. No, but no, I definitely.
Have to, bro. I'll say it again.
I appreciate it.
I got you.
No, I definitely appreciate that. There are people always going to be out there who are going to try to invalidate your message, whatever it is, and no matter the circumstances.
Hate.
This is true. I don't expect that to subside just because it's wrong now.
But you're just gonna make making luck at Dominion Podcast.
Yeah, no, it definitely. I mean, it gives me more of a are they right about this kind of a voice? It makes that voice quieter. Yeah. But for sure. But yeah,
and you listen to your own inner voice.
Yeah, which is saying, hey,
which tells you to buy rats.
Yeah, you should buy more rats. In silver. Yeah,
it's a pretty good card.
Yeah. So.
Yeah, congratulations, Jake.
Thank you very much.
I really am proud of you enough that I would trumpet your accomplishments on the podcast. Actually, no, I'm not going to trumpet them. I'm going to saxophone them on the podcast.
It's a better instrument.
Thank you for saying that.
Yeah.
I remember a long time ago you made a crack about musical theater just to get under my skin. Actually, that might be on a mini-sode that hasn't been published yet, but I haven't forgotten it, and it was a couple of months ago at this point. In any case, I appreciate you saying that, because you could have just said that the trumpet is the best wind instrument, and that would have gotten me. And then you could have said that drums were even better. And I got to tell you, my son's middle name is Reed. There's a little bit of direction we want him to go in. We want him to play a reed instrument.
Oh, really?
And we're going to have to talk to him.
What if he prefers strings?
I mean, that's totally cool. And, if he wants to do brass, that's also fine. I mean, we prefer if he didn't be a drummer, because we have to live with him, and that's going to be loud.
Yeah, I always picture the wind instrument guys at odds with the string instrument guys.
Really?
But that's just my background in Greek mythology. Talking.
Oh, okay. Yeah, in bandos, there's a lot of mini rivalries. Like, this is really not relevant to the podcast.
The Apollonian versus the Hermetic. It doesn't come up. Yeah.
Yeah. So, well, anyway, maybe this will be an Easter egg on the podcast someday. We could talk about it. But for now, hey, we got Kingdom.
Yeah,
and we can talk about it. Yeah.
So last episode we talked about Encampment and Plunder. So of course this Kingdom that we've been playing and are going to talk about had and has Encampment and Plunder in it. So we should read the cards that are in it.
Yeah, it had and has. Wow.
Yeah.
We really don't pull out any stops
on Making Luck. Dominion Podcast. Yeah, so those cards are Royal Blacksmith, Poorhouse, Duchess, Encampment with Plunder, Doctor, Fortune Teller, Gladiator with Fortune, Scheme, Haggler, Expand, and the landscape-shaped cards we had were Plan and Fleet. The event plan and the project fleet. Once more for our audio-only listeners, we have Royal Blacksmith, Poorhouse, Duchess, Encampment with Plunder, Doctor, Fortune Teller, Gladiator with Fortune, Scheme, Haggler, expand, and we had the event plan and the project fleet.
Nice.
Yeah, so I think we both agreed you go for the thematic fortune teller combo.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I mean,
totally.
that's pretty clear.
Yeah.
So you open double fortune teller.
Yeah, and then
you hope your opponent goes for gladiators.
So that you can get the fortune someday.
Yep.
Yeah, and eventually you get an expand so you can start getting gladiators so that you can get the fortune, but
it's tough.
Yeah, it's a little tougher.
Yeah.
It mostly just had Adam and I both buying fortune tellers and wondering why the game wasn't ending.
I won the fortune teller split.
Yeah, usually because he went first.
Yeah.
Because we both just bought one every turn.
First player advantage.
Yeah. Actually, one time I hit a hand of 5 fortune tellers and I couldn't get a fortune teller that
That's
turn.
the worst.
So, yeah.
That sucks.
Yeah.
So anyway, I think...
What did we actually do?
Last time I advocated for Doctor openings, right? Openings focus around Doctor for thinning, and then you probably want to get an expand and get a lot of encampments. Instead, encampments were going to be important because it's the only village. And plunder's less so.
It's a great card, yeah.
Yeah, and it is a good card. I think, did I say Gladiator would be a fine card for the deck? I don't remember if I said that.
You might have. So
that's what I ended up thinking.
I don't remember if we explicitly said that, but we did talk about having fortunes in the deck, and that kind of implies that the Gladiators are going to be okay. Because if the Gladiators aren't good for either deck, you're never going to see the fortunes no matter how good they are, because who's going to go for them?
Yeah.
Because it's a symmetrical effect. Why would you make it better for both yourself and your opponent?
Yeah.
But it turns out the Gladiators aren't that bad for the deck. So
I think they're good for some of the decks that you could possibly build here.
Yeah, there were a few different actually kinds of decks that were all pretty valid in terms of like power levels being similar.
Sure. I think that we're really aiming for the same deck.
Yeah.
Like, you want to have some encampments, some plunders, some golds, a fortune if you can, a royal blacksmith, some schemes, expand, maybe a haggler. Like, you want to draw a lot of cards and you want to be...
You just named like the entire kingdom. You want to have these cards that are here in front of us.
There are some that I didn't name.
Yeah, this is true.
But I think the build to get there was where a lot of the tension was.
No, this is true. I mean, most of the kingdom played here, and there was just a lot of good stuff on this kingdom that centered around plunders and expands, and the tension was in, like Adam said, how you build that deck and which pieces you use to get there and support those.
Yeah, so we had some feedback on the Discord channel from a couple people that said they felt that the build, there was a particular build that was really, really good. It involved getting plan turn 1 and then putting plan on encampment.
Yes.
And then just getting an encampment on like every single turn and trashing your cards.
And I kind of soft advocated for that. I wasn't like ready to commit to it. I mentioned it on the last episode, and then they mentioned they thought it was good, so I kind of started to agree, and that's what I played for most of the Kingdoms.
Yeah,
games.
I waffled pretty hard, and we played a few games.
Yeah.
And they're on video. And after those games, I am pretty convinced that the build with Doctor is a lot better.
And it's interesting. I'm convinced exactly the opposite because we both saw both builds quite a bit. Adam did play more of both, to be fair.
I played a lot of games against the bot.
Yeah, this is true. So I really, really like the build that focuses on controlling your deck with planning encampment and then getting an encampment every turn. Adam really likes centering it around Doctor.
I mean, I don't like centering around Doctor, but I think it's best.
Yeah. So so let's real quick talk about what that deck that I just described is actually doing, and then Adam can talk a little bit about what the Doctor thing is doing instead and when. Yeah. So like Adam mentioned, you are going to open with a plan, and then you are going to get an encampment every turn. The key part here, and the way I screwed this up a couple of times, by the way, is that when are you playing your encampments or are you leaving them in your deck? It depends. Could you maybe hit 5? Because your goal number 2 is to get a haggler. At a certain point, you get to this point where you have a haggler in your deck, and then once you have the haggler in the deck, you try to make sure that you are hitting 6 with it so that you can get a gold and an encampment on the same turn, just because that's a really good turn. No other reason other than that. And then you start trying to keep the encampments in your deck from there. Every other turn that you see an encampment, when those things aren't really coming to play, you kind of just hang on to it and buy another encampment, because it thins a card and puts another encampment in your deck that works toward these other goals.
You usually still trash a card, right? Even if you have like 1 or 2 encampments in your hand. Like a lot of times you can just like play a couple coppers and still trash a card.
Right. That's part of why I like this build so much. Is it doesn't really sacrifice anything. You don't really need to play these in well, and Adam has some points he thinks it does sacrifice.
Sacrifice isn't even on this board, Jake.
So this doesn't. You don't really have to give up anything in terms of speed because your goals are really pretty easy to get all of and so you've got this gold and a haggler in your deck by like turn 7 or 8, and then eventually you get an expand and you just start doing the encampment plunder thing. You just get a bunch of encampments and plunders, the plan token, and golds. Less so with the golds, but you do get them.
I mean, you want to get like at least 2 or 3 of them because what that deck does give up is it thins slower.
A little bit, yes.
I mean, at the very beginning, right, it's thinning the estates a little faster. But there will come a point when, like, you stop buying the encampments and you still have, like, maybe 5 or so starting cards in your deck.
Yeah.
So you need more than 1 gold/plunder in your deck, or else you risk losing your encampments a lot.
This is true
to that deck.
And you might lose them forever. And the thing is, though, that it keeps thinning throughout because it's got the plan on the plunder pile at that point. So it's going to be buying and acquiring plunders different ways. And
by that point, you're usually okay, and you're not considering gold anymore.
Right, turning copper into either encampment or schema is effectively thinning it. So it's not that hard to get thin, even though in the middle of the game you're thinning a little bit slower. So Adam has advocated for a different kind of build. Where do we differ?
So I like building around Doctor. On a 5/2, obviously you just open the Doctor. You're very happy. On a 2/5, you open Encampment, then Doctor, and you're slightly less happy, but still okay. On a 4/3, you open Doctor, you overpay by 1, and you usually pick up a silver turn 2. Sometimes you hit 2 because you're unlucky. You get an Encampment. It's whatever.
Sure.
And then on a 3/4, you plan on Doctor, and then you Doctor overpay by 1. I like that because I'm guaranteed not to hit my turn 1 buy overpay, as is want to happen so often.
Yeah.
So after that, you put a silver in the deck. After that, you put a gladiator in the deck, and you just try and thin as much as you can with the Doctor in that time. And by that point, you're either getting an encampment or you're hoping to hit 7 with expand. And sometimes you put in like a second silver because you really want to... The thing is, if you're not playing against this deck, your gladiator will almost all of the time be getting $3 for you, which is why it's a good card for the deck in this situation.
That's very true, by the way.
Because like I'm gonna have a Doctor and I'm gonna have a silver that Jake's strategy is just not going to have. Your deck will never get those cards.
The deck is, I mean, even if it ends up with them like later for some reason, it's a really homogenous deck for most of the game. So yeah,
even in a lot of situations, like I'll have an estate laying around before I get my expand.
Yeah,
and your estates are pretty gonzo pretty fast.
Yeah,
so there are a lot of cards that'll allow your gladiator to make you $3, which is why it's a good card. Helps you hit expand. Once you get expand, then you just start shoving encampments in the deck. You pick up a haggler at that point, and you try and keep your encampments.
The encampments have to be there, though. And here's the reason that I actually like my build better, even though Adam's build thins a little faster. And that's because if your opponent's doing that, similar to how you're not contesting them and blocking their gladiators, they're not really contesting you. And you're putting encampments back, sure, but you're also getting to gain them and go through this cycle of thinning. You kind of just get to do whatever you want, and that whatever you want ends up with you at some point winning the encampment and the plunder split.
Okay,
usually.
The plunder split was just not correlated to that. The encampment split, yes, there is definitely a point in time where your thing is going to have more encampments in the deck. However, unless I've really screwed the pooch, by the time you're actually able to keep those encampments in the deck, I'm going to be able to just get them from your deck.
Just so like turn 8. Turn 8, by that point I've got the gold, and I can just stop playing the encampments.
You have 1 gold. Like,
sure.
You need more than 1 gold, or else you're going to lose an encampment at some point. And as long as I get 2 encampments, like, yeah, I'd rather have 3. But if I have 2, I'm definitely not out of the game. And I have payload cards in my deck. I feel like I have a better deck at that point.
It's not, you're definitely not out of the game, but I really like the position that the plan encampment build gets you in, and I like how it gets you there a little bit better. But if you've been really keeping tabs on this, listener, and you can watch the videos as well, you'll notice that what we're talking about gets to the same point at similar times. So these builds are really comparable.
Yeah, it's not like a huge difference one or the other.
We both adamantly defend our builds as being the best
Mine
one.
is definitely better.
Yeah,
right.
Mine is the correct one, though.
Oh, God.
But, yeah,
smack you.
But, like, both of these are valid builds, and, like, they both really get you there.
Yeah, they're not awful.
Yeah.
For sure.
Now, the question that was on everybody's mind, I know, was Fleet?
Yeah, we did a lot of learning about Fleet this game, I'll tell you.
Yeah, no, I will say there was this game that early on I ended up winning even though I was behind, and it was because you didn't buy Fleet and I did.
I just borked the end game. Like, I thought, I should get a lot of provinces, and then I should have gotten a Fleet.
And from then on, neither of us ever felt inclined to not buy Fleet before the game was over. So I think here it was especially good. Because the game is gonna end on provinces, but you've also got plunders in your deck to play.
And expands too.
Yeah.
So, like, you're able to score a lot more than a province's worth of points on a fleet turn.
Yeah.
And also, if you have a fleet, in this case, it really frees you up so that you don't have to play around the province pile.
Yes,
game.
That's
so, like,
the big deal about it.
Normally, like, you have to do this dancing, like, how many provinces can he get? I want to make sure I get the last turn of the game, so I'm willing to give up some provinces because I feel like I can make that up in points by getting one other turn.
Right, how many expands does he have in his deck? How many what if he has a perfect draw, how many provinces could he get, etc.
If you feel like you can play around that.
Yeah.
So, but if I have a cube on fleet, I just don't care. I'm just trying to get as many points as I can because I'm always going to get one extra turn. I'm always going to get that chance to get some more points. So now these provinces are these delicious cards that are worth so many points, and I'm limited by number of gains a lot of the time.
Yeah.
And so I want to get the most points out of those gains. So I'm just going to scream down those provinces.
I think a lot of people suspected that Fleet is going to be one of those cards that is pretty much obligatory almost all the time you see it to buy before the end of the game.
In a two-player game.
Yeah, and okay, sure. And a lot of people have been going back and forth on that, arguing like, well, there are situations where you're not going to get it, and other people are saying, well, no, I think you pretty much get it all the time. And I will say that I'm not sold one way or the other on that argument yet, but this game, it was obligatory. You needed it. I think it was especially good here. Yeah. But we might just find that most games of Dominion, it's especially good, and you just get it.
I've also heard a lot of people saying, like, oh, Fleet is best when there's a 3-pile ending coming up.
I think it's just best when the game's going to end.
Well,
like, yeah, I mean,
I think the implication with that is that when provinces are going to run, you don't get a Fleet. And maybe Fleet is less good in that situation. Maybe it's not. Yeah. I couldn't say because I haven't played with the card very much. But I was initially surprised to see that, it's obvious that provinces are going to be running this game. And yes, Fleet is definitely something that you get. It's super important. And it's not about, 3 piles, I'm going to have some insurance to get some points and not lose to a 3-pile.
Now, I will say that there was also a lot of time to get Fleet here because there wasn't anything else really competing at 5. The plunders are going to be out. Yes, so like if you can get a plunder instead of a Fleet, you do that. But there wasn't really, like, if you hit the greater than 4 price point and you didn't quite have 8 to get a province or expand or whatever, there was no really reason not to get a Fleet. Because
in that situation, it feels pretty good to get a Fleet.
Yeah, you don't really want 2 hagglers, so what else are you going to do with that $5?
Like, I would find myself getting a Fleet over 8, like, getting a province with 8 and also having a haggler in play. Like, that's how important it was.
Well, I mean, a lot of my call is saying that, like, you're usually going to get your Fleet before you get your first province, and I'm not
around that time. Yeah.
I'm not confident enough to say that about Fleet a lot of the time, but I think it was true here.
It was close here, give or take.
Yeah. So anyway, the Kingdom was pretty interesting, and Fleet was pretty interesting in it. So I'm not disappointed.
Yeah, I mean, I thought this was an interesting board. The only card that never saw play in any of my playthroughs is Fortune Teller.
It's okay. So some of the other ones did technically see play, but not for like legitimate reasons.
It's because like I had a haggler in play, and I really wanted something, and I had to haggle something.
Or
so
like,
it's like I guess I'm getting a Duchess because I can expand that into a 5-er.
He had a haggler in play, and there was an encampment left in the pile, and he was like, "Well, I can't just leave that." And so
I want to get this.
Here comes the poorhouse.
There was one build where I got like a 2/5 with Doctor and ended up like trashing all of my coppers, and I had one in hand. I was like, okay, guess I'm getting the poorhouse here, and it was good.
Yeah.
But yeah, that was pretty narrow and pretty unlikely. But it happened. Dang it.
This was a pretty interactive kingdom, and most of the cards had to be pretty garbage not to see play. And some of them worked. Yeah, so...
Hey, fortune teller, how you doing, brah?
We found it. Yeah, so this episode is going to be about Market Square. Yeah. This card's blue. Have we done a blue card before?
Oh, man. I don't think so.
This might be the first blue card.
Never even thought about
Making Luck, yeah.
Next week we'll have to do Moat.
Yeah, I know.
The classic blue card.
Yeah, well, blue's my favor're color. But,
really?
Yeah, totally.
That's pretty wicked, man.
Yeah. So I'm gonna notice things like this.
Nice.
Yeah.
You're a very perceptive guy. Not much gets by you.
It's blue.
Yep. Nice.
So you want to read us the text of Market Square?
Yeah. So Market Square is a 3-cost action reaction. It's from the Dark Ages expansion, and it goes like this: gives you card, an action, and a buy.
It's a cantrip.
Yeah, it's pretty sweet. And then it says when one of your cards is trashed, you may discard this from your hand to gain a gold.
Yeah.
Check it out.
That's pretty interesting. So this card does two things. It is a cantrip with plus buy, and then it has this other separate function where it's a gold gainer as its reaction.
Yeah, it's kind of hard to use it for both of those, because if you're going to gain the gold with it, you have to discard it, right? So it's hard to do that.
Or it's not in the same turn, yeah.
Yeah, but, the fact that both of these seemingly independent effects are pasted together on the same card leads to some pretty interesting stuff, and so I thought we'd talk about it.
Yeah, definitely. I will say that this is a card that you are almost always going to get some of, because the thing is, I mean, it's plus buy and it's a gold gainer. The games are few and far between when one of those two things isn't really beneficial to you. Now, which one you get, which one is more important to you will determine sort of when you get the Market Square and how many you get and why, but I think, like, it's pretty rare you don't get at least one.
I suppose. I'm thinking of, like, junky familiar games with no trashing. But
sure,
yeah. That's about where I'm going with that.
Yeah, definitely. So I think it makes sense to talk about these two functions kind of separately, right?
Sure.
So first off, Market Square as a source of plus buy, it's pretty good at that, yeah?
Yeah, so the fact that it gives you a buy and doesn't take up an action is...
Yeah, or a card in your hand, essentially.
Well, yeah, I mean, if you're going to play it, it's a cantrip, and that's super great. But, before Dark Ages, there really weren't many non-terminal plus buy cards. Back in my day, we didn't have non-terminal plus buy cards.
If you wanted plus buy, you had to spend an action on it.
We had Woodcutter, sonny boy, and we liked it.
I miss Woodcutter.
Yeah, those guys were pretty buff. But anyway, I mean, it's a little more common now, but non-terminal plus buy is super nice. Because now you don't have to, like, buy a village and then buy a woodcutter just to get your plus buy. You just buy this stinking thing and put it in your deck, and it's like, hey, great, now I have a buy. Everybody loves buys.
Yeah, the significance of non-terminal plus buy, I mean, we have a lot more cards that do it now, but before Dark Ages we didn't, and, even after that we have, relatively few cards that give you non-terminal plus buy. The reason that that's significant and important is that outside of talking about a money density sort of paradigm deck, the goal of most decks, if you think about, is going to revolve around supporting their payload cards and accommodating their stop cards. And one of the elements of that payload that you're looking for is plus buy, and that's usually on stop cards. So the fact that we can have this element of payload that you're looking for and you're used to seeing on a stop card on a cantrip. It just means that the other deck control elements you have will be able to support that much more payload, that much more explosively, that much more consistently. Just plus buy on a cantrip is a really good support piece.
Yeah, so remember when I said, like, you have to buy a village and then your woodcutter? That wasn't even the whole story, right? Because you also had to draw that woodcutter. So, like, you had to buy, like, 2 villages and a smithy and a woodcutter or something like that.
Yeah.
Like, it's a really nasty thing to have to draw and then play this terminal action, get a plus buy. That was a lot of your payload, a lot of your money and buys that you had to spend towards putting more deck control cards in your deck, when if all I want is a plus buy, then I can just get the stupid market square and I don't have to worry about drawing it or playing it. It's just there.
And that situation Adam's talking about led to single province games being a lot better more often. Yeah, because this idea that you had to put these different support pieces in your deck and then have the deck control to accommodate them on top of needing the extra gain meant that a lot of the time it's just more efficient to build toward these single province turns, which isn't necessarily not the case because Market Square exists, but like it definitely we have stressed before how much non-terminal plus buy tends to change a kingdom, and this is why. It just makes these high payload decks smoother and faster to put together.
So I'm not going to go that far and say that, oh, it was always single province games before this. I mean, I'm not going to say that. No. This was one of the many factors that contributed to it.
Yeah, so, definitely.
The other thing I want to say is that, you know, you have this other function of the card. At some point, you want to stop gaining golds because you want to be playing Market Square for its plus buy.
Yeah, right.
And I mean, I guess we're transitioning into that, but I think that like a lot of the times, you want to be. You just have a number of golds in mind that you want to gain. And then after that, it's okay. You can stop revealing the Market Square. Just play the Market Square. Like, this is a good card. If all Market Square did was discard itself to gain you gold, then it would be Tunnel. And Tunnel's a bad card. Market Square is a better card than Tunnel because you can play it.
You heard it here first.
And it gives you a card and an action and a buy. And these things matter.
Yeah.
Before the end of the game, unlike 2VP and sitting there in your hand, not colliding with the thing that you wanted to collide it with. Thanks, Tunnel. Screw you. I hate you.
By the way, you're getting
Go f*** yourself.
You're getting a bonus episode. This is also our tunnel minisode. Shoved into the Market Square. So
what you really want is just have an idea of how much better your turn is going to be by playing the Market Square.
Yeah.
Right? If I can play this Market Square and get a buy, and then maybe draw another Market Square that I could then reveal, that is way, way stinking better in a lot of cases. Or if my deck is thin for the most part, then the card that I'm going to draw is likely to be very, very good, and I want that.
Well, we've talked about this situation before where maybe you have stopped wanting golds, and that comes up, not never for sure. But even if you do want the gold, sometimes you think about not revealing the Market Square, to gain one, even if you have the chance to. And that comes down to what Adam just mentioned, which is thinking about what that Market Square might draw you. We actually went into this with the encampment episode a little bit when we were talking about when not to play your encampments when you or whether or not to play your encampments when you might lose them. You think about, well, how much better does this turn get? When you're thinking about choosing not to gain a gold with the Market Square, you think, like, would I rather gain a gold? Or would I rather draw whatever's on top of my deck? Because, of course, discarding a cantrip
and get a buy.
And get the buy, yeah. I mean, of course, discarding a cantrip is, a little worse than just, like, discarding a card. Because you don't exactly know what you're discarding.
Yeah.
Yeah, so now I think it bears some mention to talk about Market Square as a gold gainer.
Yeah. A tactical gold gainer.
A tactical,
a very subtle tactical
gold gainer. Yes. I mean, I started writing this and I was just like, well, it's good. It gains gold, but like, there's more to say than that. So let's actually say that stuff.
Oh, okay, sure. So I think if there's any sort of deck thinning on the kingdom, it's pretty safe, and I'm not going to say it's true all the time, but it's pretty safe to say, like, you just get this over silver.
Yeah, you just open with the market square instead of the silver, or you get it, like, instead of your first piece of payload.
Yeah, so I think I can outline most of the exceptions to this. The first one is that I'm not aiming for a higher payload turn than just a single province.
Sure.
And so, like, that most of the time happens when there's no draw, I guess. I'm not going to try and shove a bunch of golds in the same hand and have my plus buy from market square.
Sure,
so that's a little rough. So maybe then I would be preferring silver. The other situation is I'm not going to open market square when my trasher costs 5 because I need a silver so I can hit 5.
Right.
Because if I don't hit 5, I'm never going to reveal the market square because I'll never be trashing anything. So don't do that.
Yeah, and being able to... Part of the reason for this is that gaining that gold early on is really, really good. And part of the reason that gaining this gold is really good, even when your endgame payload doesn't involve gold, even when this deck you're building isn't about gold. We talked a little bit about, in the Jack of All Trades episode, at the beginning of your game, your deck is a money deck. That's what it's doing. It's playing treasures to get money and buy things, and it really can accelerate it if you are able to gain this gold with market square, no matter what you're doing. So obviously there's sometimes some better thing to be doing with your turn, but being able to gain this gold is good enough that a lot of the time you get this market square early, if not opening with it, even if you just have a chance to be able to gain a gold with it.
Right. That goes along with the idea that there's like a certain number of golds that you want in your deck. And that number could potentially be less if you have a silver that's still hanging around. So like a moneylender market square opening seems really great, even though, you know, I could have had the silver and it could have been better. Just having the chance to high roll and collide them, have the option to gain that gold, have something good happen to me. Like, that's a lot of time worth opening market square for.
Well, and it's fine if it doesn't happen, too, because remember, the market square doesn't get in the way of anything in the meantime. It's fine to do it if you just could get the gold, because you're thinning your deck in the meantime. Eventually, that will cause you to collide the market square and the trasher, and then you'll have this thin deck that has a gold in it. So, like, there's really no downside. You either get the gold early and it accelerates you, or you thin until you do collide them eventually, and then you have a thin deck with a gold in it, and that's great. So there's no real cost to opening market square a lot of the time, unless there's just a better card to put in your deck.
Yeah, it's only opportunity cost.
Right.
So there are 2 points here. The first one is that there was a guy I went to high school with, and now he has a YouTube channel. And for a while, he played Hearthstone, which is a different game. But he had this saying that he said, you know, a lot of people will say, "Oh, well, you won because you got lucky," and he would say, "Good players give themselves more chances to get lucky."
Yeah.
So like aiming for the high roll in this case is kind of doing that at the expense of opportunity cost. Even if it doesn't work out for you, it can still be the right play, and you know you could still say, well, I would do it again because you know the upside is so high. But the other thing you're saying, you're talking about this deck that is thin and has a gold in it, and that's kind of the pasting of these 2 parts of market square on the same card. If there's thinning. You know, a plus buy card can be really good, but also a thin deck really likes to have the gold. Market square serves you in both of its capacities when there is this trashing, and it serves even more so when the trashing is super strong.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, it doesn't even necessarily have to be thinning either. Just trashing in general, I think, makes it worth it most of the time.
I'm not positive I would go that far. Trust me, I've lost to Vault Market Square where the only enabler was rats. Okay, it happened to me, but that seems pretty rare.
Yeah. Which is funny to think about.
I thought you'd like that.
Yeah, no, I definitely did.
I'm really thinking about the stronger trashing cards. So, like, I'm looking at Chapel and Steward. I'm looking at a completely new build path now.
Yeah.
Because before, I would have to maybe open Chapel Silver, and I'd make sure I have $3 in my deck so I can buy another silver, and then I've got 5, and I can buy a 5er, and then I can trash my copper. I don't have to deal with any of that crap. I just shove market squares in my deck on the turns where I don't see my Chapel, and now I've got a deck of, like, a Chapel and 3 market squares and in a state, and I don't care about the fact that I trash all my coppers, because all of a sudden I blink, and I have this amazing deck with golds and plus buy in it, and I'm very happy.
Yeah, another way of putting what Adam is saying, and in a way that applies to Market Square too, is whenever you see any opportunity to have this deck control card that can also gain you your econ in the process, it kind of kills the two birds with one stone. That's why and Market Square isn't like helping your deck control.
It has a strong
deck
control component, though. It's not negative in deck control.
You can just be focusing on the trashing and the putting the cantrips in your deck, and not
helps you line up your trasher with the things you want to trash.
Yeah,
not care about trashing too many of them. It's super great.
Yeah, you help yourself just get your deck in control, and in the process, your econ is taken care of for you. That's actually part of why Jack of All Trades is so strong, is because it does that. It's part of why Swashbuckler is so strong. Which
good old Swashy.
Good old Swashy, yeah. So Market Square kind of falls into that same vein of you're getting deck control and gaining econ at the same time, kind of for free. It's just really fast.
Woo!
Cathedral sewers. Yeah, but sorry, we should probably stop mentioning Renaissance cards. But
we're excited.
Yeah.
Renaissance. Woo!
Yeah. So Adam mentioned earlier this idea that you don't have to reveal the Market Squares to gain a gold.
It's okay.
Just because you can.
I'm giving you permission right now. It's okay.
Well, like, there are a few points I want to hit on with that. Like, I mentioned earlier, you almost always want the Market Square. And also, by the way, gold is a good card, but not every deck wants gold in it. And not every deck wants more gold in it, more commonly. So, like, sometimes you have enough golds, and it's okay to stop revealing them. Or sometimes it's, again, you just don't want the card. Like, I was playing this deck the other day that had, like, Market Square and some thinning options, and Fool's Gold was the best money, and there was Pixie. And my opponent, and we were both going for this, and my opponent kept, like, revealing after he trashed his Pixies to gain golds, whereas I just, like, kept mine and kept lining the buy up to get more Fool's Golds, and, guess who had better money density by the end of all that?
Okay, so that actually depends on a lot. I mean, if there was another source of thinning, then, you can expect to line your Fool's Golds up a lot more often.
This is true.
Was there?
Yeah, I mean, the point of this whole little exercise is that sometimes you have Market Squares in a deck where you don't want gold. So, like, it's totally fine to pick up Market Square when you don't intend to gain gold with it ever.
Right.
That reaction is just a thing it can do. It's not a thing it has to do to get value.
Most decks, I mean, I'm going to tell you, it is rare for a deck to not want a gold, right? I mean,
sure.
I would rather... Getting a free gold is a different thing than giving up the opportunity of playing your Market Square in exchange for getting a gold. At some point, you're going to want to buy more than one card per turn. And you already have this Market Square in your deck, and it gives you plus buy. You probably didn't pick up other plus buy cards because they were probably worse than Market Square, because Market Square is super great. Yeah. So if you always discard your Market Squares, you're never going to play your Market Squares, you're never going to do anything with your turn.
This is true.
At some point, you have to do something with your turn other than gaining gold, because gold is not worth points.
Right, and part of the reason...
You have to play the Market Square.
This is true. A lot of the reason that you wanted the gold in the first place anyway was so that you would have enough money to buy multiple cards on your turn.
Whoa!
So, like, if you're discarding your Market Square every time, a lot of the time it didn't matter if it was gold or copper, if you're just buying the one card that...
I know that keep is a thing, okay? You don't have to comment. I understand. Sure. So guess what? Market Square came from the Dark Ages expansion, which has a lot of trashing attacks in it. And Market Square defends against the trashing attack!
No, it doesn't. Well, it kind of does.
I mean, it does.
It's a really soft defense.
It's pretty bad.
Yeah. So, like, we have heard arguments about, like, when you're being faced down by, like, knights or something, that, like, you can just go for Market Squares, and that defends against it. And, like, it does a little bit. It helps, but, like...
Not when the knight trashes your Market Square.
Yeah, you can't...
It's like when they swindle your moat. It's just hilarious.
Where's your moat now? Definitely don't rely on Market Square to try to defend against trashing attacks by itself. If the Market Square is good enough that you can do that, you should probably just be doing it proactively in the first place. Yeah. It's not really a defense at that point. It's just kind of a tool you're using in the kingdom.
Yeah. It's just kind of there.
Yeah.
And also, I want to point out that, like, it's your cards. So, like, I know these aren't attacks, but don't go for Lurker and Market Square, or Gladiator or Salt the Earth. These things trash from the supply. They're not going to trigger your market
Doesn't
square.
Work, yeah.
No worky, no bueno. No bueno.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
So the other thing that we can talk about with Market Square is notable combos, because this is one of those cards, kind of like when we talked about the Capital episode, where half the episode was just dedicated to, well, not really half in this case, but was just dedicated to the
55% of the episode,
the wonky combos that either perform in some notable way or are overpowered AF.
Yeah.
And I'm going to start with the most tame one. This is like the one that's like the most the one, interactive and the least like centralizing and breaky.
The one when I was reading your outline, I was like, wow, he's really going to talk about this one?
Yeah, no. Yeah. And that's Peddler. Woo! And the thing is, okay, all I want to say is that when Market Square and Peddler are on the board, Market Square is really good at gaining Peddlers. The Peddlers are going to be gone really quickly because of Market Squares. Peddlers are a big boost to your econ. Bear in mind that those two piles are going to be empty very quickly because of the Market Squares and the Peddlers. That's all I wanted to say. Okay.
I mean, you are not wrong, and this is actually good. The fact that I'm poo-pooing on it just goes to show you how incredibly broken the rest of this stuff is.
Yeah, now we get to the stuff that's
way
actually
higher in power level.
Centralizing. I did want to make sure we got that out of the way because that's a gotcha moment for some people in some kingdoms.
Like, I've opened Hamlet just to be able to get more Peddlers, and Market Square is way better than Hamlet at doing that.
I mean, the Market Square Peddler thing has been a gotcha in several kingdoms with like newer players because they're just not expecting all of a sudden the Market Square. I played some. They're like, "Why are you buying a bunch of Market Squares?" And then all of a sudden the Peddlers are just gone, and they're like, "Oops. Oh, because Market Square does both the things that helps you gain Peddlers." Gotcha.
Rip.
Okay.
Rip Peddlers.
So the good stuff now.
Yeah. So I think at the top of the list, the creme de la croppo.
Yes.
That's cream of the crop in whatever language that was.
Yeah, Pig Latin.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's got to be Hermit Market Square.
It's interesting. So the other one we're going to talk about is really good too, but Hermit Market Square is obviously up there as like a game-breaking combo.
Yeah, it's really, really good. There's actually an episode of Making Luck, a Dominion podcast, on this topic. It's from a long time ago. It's mostly still relevant, although it was made after Adventures, so there are a couple things from later expansions that aren't explicitly mentioned, but it gives you a really good idea of the combo, and the one main thing we'll actually address, the one other game changer of the combo is actually on this list also because it's broken.
Yeah, this is true, the Hermit Market Square thing, and Adam actually has a really extensive, very thorough analytical article on Hermit Market Square.
It's way too long.
You can find out everything you would need to know about this combo. And by the way, there's actually a lot to it because it's a high execution combo, I'd say. And the basic gist, for anybody who's not familiar, this is just the surface level how this works.
You can usually ignore familiar.
Yeah, is that you get a bunch of hermits and market squares, and you keep all your madmen, and as you are going through it, you are trashing things and gaining more hermits, so you have some golden market squares in the deck, and then you just have this gigantic turn where you play all of your madmen and draw your deck, which has 1 billion golds in it, and then you just win the game on that turn-ish.
Yeah.
From
55 feet up, that's about what it is.
Yeah,
and we'll link the article.
Yeah,
we'll link that in the description.
It's worth reading because there's a lot more to it than what I just said. What I will say is that I played a really interesting variation on this with Bandit Fort, and it was really interesting because Bandit Fort didn't matter at all and didn't change anything. So Hermit Market Square is really powerful, is what I'm getting at here.
It's
so,
really good. Yeah. It's super broken. So I think next on the list, at least for me, is Apprentice.
Okay, so
maybe not in power level. I mean, Donate's busted, right?
Yeah, so Donate I think is arguably even stronger than Hermit Market Square. It's hard to say; they're both amazing, but the Apprentice one is closer to in function to the one we just described.
I don't know. I just listed them in some order. Let's talk about Donate. So Donate Market Square is. It's really good, and this is a lot because Donate is really good.
Yeah.
There's basically an opening that you do, and regardless of where you want to go from there, the opening is so good because of Donate that you just kind of do it.
Yeah, and it involves buying Market Square on turns both 1 and 2. And then on turn 3, I think you donate or pick up another market square.
You hope that you found a market square.
Yeah.
So you can get a third market square and donate.
What I will say is that RTT actually did an episode of Dominion Homework where he goes through the sort of specifics and logistics of this combo, and he goes through the different ways that you may or may not optimize it. I highly recommend checking that out, but just know that there is a lot of room to have this extremely fast start off the ground, and there are ways to do it optimally, and actually I would even say correctly.
Oh god!
But
I wouldn't say that for the record.
But yeah, so donate market square is a game breaking combo you can't ignore.
Just be advised, you donate more than once. Like most of the time, you donate on turn 3 and turn 4, and sometimes like turn 3, turn 4, turn 5. Like you'll donate 2 and maybe 3 times depending on what happens to you.
Yeah, it's
so like keep some coppers around so you have something to trash.
And then reveal all your market squares to gain like 3 golds every time you donate, which pays off the donate, yada yada yada.
Yeah, so like by the beginning of turn 5 or turn 6, you're looking at a deck with like 9 golds and like 4 market squares.
Yeah.
And you have a big pile of debt, but it doesn't matter because your deck is just a bunch of golds and you have plus buy cards.
And what you do from there, of course, depends on the rest of the kingdom, but if you just start provincing from there, you're fine.
It's pretty decent.
Yeah. So, that's pretty good. You had mentioned the Apprentice one, yeah.
Yeah.
This one plays similar to the Hermit Market Square one, right?
Sort of. I would say it's not as powerful. The idea is that you have this deck where you play Apprentice, you trash a gold, you've drawn everything at this point. You play Apprentice, trash a gold, you reveal 3 market squares, gain the golds, and then you draw the 3 market squares and the 3 golds that you just discarded and gained. And you just keep doing this as long as you have apprentices in hand. So every apprentice you play is effectively gaining you 2 golds to hand. You trash 1 and you gain 3 and just draw everything back up.
Yeah, so Apprentice becomes this like +6 plus action card.
And
that's exactly what
you're gaining the golds, and the golds are really useful because they help you kick off your turns.
Yeah.
Because there are things to trash to your apprentice. So you want a lot of apprentices, and you want enough market squares so you have enough plus buy to make you happy. And you want to try and prioritize thinning, which apprentice alone is not great at, so other trashing really supports this well. And then frequently golds will empty.
Yeah.
Apprentices will usually get low. Market squares, if you're mirrored, can be low, and which is relevant. But you can get huge turns with a ton of money, and that's really, really good.
Yeah, definitely. So I see the next one on your outline. I actually forgot to mention this one, but it's really, really powerful. So I'm glad that you got it.
Yeah.
You want to go into it?
It's Highway.
Highway Market Square.
This has nothing to do with gold gaining at all.
Yeah.
You usually don't gain golds ever in this.
Yeah.
It's just like, it's because it's a cantrip with plus buy. So with any trashing, you're going to build to this deck that has just a bunch of highways and market squares in it, and then everything costs very little, and you have a bunch of buys.
And this just ties in, again, to market square being plus buy that is not on a stop card and is non-terminal. That's really just what it is.
Right. So the same synergies exist for market and also Seaway.
Yeah.
It's basically the same power level, but market square is yet another way to do that crazy thing.
One more way Highway's broken.
Yep.
We found it.
Yeah, this is more about Highway than it is about market.
Because Highway needed more support. But yeah.
It's a good card.
Yeah. So...
Any more combos?
No, I mean, the only other thing I would mention is kind of one that applies to a lot of cards, which is just market square with a bunch of really cheap stuff. Because it's plus buy. Yeah. Woo! It's really insightful. Fool's Gold. Do it.
Nice.
Anyway, so... That's about all I have to say about Market Square.
Yeah, it's still blue.
Yeah, still blue.
Yep. Blue card.
Blue card.
Yep.
Blue Kingdom.
Better than Tunnel.
Better than Tunnel. You heard it here first. So...
That's because Tunnel's bad.
Yeah, you heard that here first-ish. I don't know. I mean, Adam said that.
I'm not the first person out there.
I've never thought about it, but I guess it might be. I don't know.
Yeah. Tunnel's not a good card.
Wow.
So you wanna talk about this kingdom that has Market Square in it?
Yeah, it's got Market Square, and we're gonna play it.
I'm gonna read the cards now.
That sounds like a good first step, but maybe we should talk about the strategy and then read the cards.
Okay, you start talking about strategy. I'll start reading the cards.
So I think you definitely want to...
Okay.
Yeah, go ahead.
Monastery, Market Square, Trade Route, Hideout, Sacrifice, Courtier, Merchant Guild, Mystic, Puka, Raider, and there's Tomb and Canal. One more time for our audio-only listeners.
And worth noting, because we have Puka, we have Cursed Gold.
One more time for our audio-only listeners. Monastery, Market Square, Trade Route, Hideout, Sacrifice, Courtier, Merchant Guild, Mystic, Puka, Raider, with Tomb, and Canal.
This is one of those boards where there's so much good stuff to do. I don't know which thing is going to be best. Because, like...
When we first looked at this board, you were like, I'm going to play Moneyish.
No, well, here's the thing. I think Moneyish is one of those things. Money looks really good here. But, like, this other stuff looks good, too.
I don't think money looks good here.
I mean, like, when I say money, I'm not talking ignore the kingdom money. I'm talking about just get to single province turns really quickly and efficiently and then green your opponent out of the game. That might be good enough here just because it looks decently fast. But there's this other cool stuff you can do.
I think Merchant Guild's a really good card.
Merchant Guild is it the end game?
Yes.
You could have this turn where you play a gazillion Merchant Guilds, get a gazillion coffers, and then be set for the rest of the game as long as you got the buys, which you do because there's Market Square and there's Merchant Guild.
Yep. Yep, or doodles.
Yeah.
Yep.
It seems good.
Yep.
The weird thing is that the only draw is Puka. Mm-hmm. So I think this might be also one of those weird games where you're spending all your extra buys on coppers just so you can have cards in your deck because the only village is Hideout. And, well, okay, there's Sacrifice.
It is pretty funny that, like, Hideout is like, what you look at for the village here. And it's like, you have to trash something. And Puka's what you look at for the draw. You have to trash something.
Yeah, I know.
And Sacrifice is like, if you want a village, you gotta trash something.
I know.
Well, how can you keep cards in your deck? But I'm like, there's a million
gains.
plus buys.
There's also gold
and
gain.
there's Tomb. Like, yes, of course I want to be doing that. Even if all I'm doing is spinning my wheels, I'm making like 7 or 8 points a turn. Like, that's amazing.
That's true. The Moneyish thing I mentioned probably doesn't have a chance against that.
Like, I'm not going to be building up to play 8 Merchant Guilds in a turn. I'm going to be playing like a couple maybe because why not? I guess
you're spending all your extra gains on copper anyway. You might as well get some value out of that.
Sure. You could even like live the monastery dream. Where I have this monastery in my hand.
He's not kidding.
And then like I have all these buys and I have all these coppers that I played and I drew because somehow I didn't trash them in my Puka or Hideout. Yeah, this is pretty far fetched.
Yeah.
And then like I buy 5 coppers and I trash 5 coppers to my monastery and I get 5 points for Tomb.
The thing is, I don't even think you'd want to trash all 5 coppers in that point because you need the coppers in your deck to like activate your Pukas and Hideouts.
Probably not. I think Market Square is great here, by the way.
Yeah, I think Market Square is great here, and you... Mostly because it's cheap. I mean, like, it lets
gives you buys. Like, I'm going to need those.
You're going to need those. The thing is, Courtier Raider is... So, like, Raider actually looks pretty good here.
Yeah, I mean, it slows the game down so that my degenerate milling of Tomb points is actually his time to win the game.
And like, I mean, the thing is that the attack is probably actually still just making your opponent discard a copper. But the thing is that actually hurts a lot because you need to trash the coppers to Puka and Hideout. So like that hurts.
It says attack on it, and also that synergy between Raider and Monastery. I play the Monastery. I trash all my coppers from play. And then I play Raider. Got him!
Yeah, there you go. Now I have to discard... I mean, I don't know. I think actually making me discard the copper is probably just as harmful as anything else you could do, now that I think about it.
I mean, unless I'm whiffing, I'm happier that I'm discarding a copper, for sure. Something other than a copper.
I mean, I'm thinking about this hand that I'm likely to have, which has, like, Market Square, Copper, Puka... And, like, you make me discard the copper, and I'm like, well, this just got terrible. So, I mean, so, like, I wonder if you get that, like, Courtier Raider goodness online. You might.
I mean, Courtier is plus buy.
The funny thing is, Courtier Raider is so is so good normally, just because that's so much payload. But I think it might actually be one of the weaker things here, because there's so much. The other stuff here is so strong.
Yeah, sure. The funny thing is that like there actually is no draw.
Well, Puka is draw.
But it's not.
Oh, because you have to play a hideout.
You have to play either a hideout or so like sacrifice and then Puka would work.
Yeah.
That's the only way you can draw cards.
That's the only way you're increasing your effective hand size. Yes.
Yeah.
Which is actually pretty significant.
And like you got to line a lot of cards up to do that. But I still think you go for this because of Tomb.
Yeah, and I've also always wanted to try Canal, but the Canal is
seems
something.
Pretty good. Yeah.
I mean, with all these extra buys floating around, I can't imagine you don't get it.
Yeah. Seems pretty good.
I mean, how much of a priority is it? I don't know. I mean, it's probably not going to be that hard to hit 7, so
it'll happen.
You probably just do it the first time you hit 7,
Whatevs.
unless you need some crucial thing, like you don't have enough Pukas.
Yeah. So what do you open with? I mean, Curse Gold messes with it, obviously. I think the highest priority for me is to get a sacrifice. I want to open with that card.
This game does not have shelters, does it?
Nope.
Okay, so I'm probably opening with a Monastery and a Puka. That's what I'm thinking. Monastery Puka.
So it depends on where my Curse Gold ends up. If I have to play the Curse Gold in order to hit 4, I'm going to whine about it, obviously. I'll probably get the Monastery over the Sacrifice.
Yeah.
And then I might not play the Curse Gold. I don't know. There's something to getting a Puka if I have to do it that way.
Yeah, I mean,
there's a lot
I
of
like
different ways it can go.
Like the idea of opening with a Puka and a non-terminal card is pretty good.
Like a Monastery is great to open with your Puka for sure.
Yeah, like I'm thinking the Puka Monastery thing, and then on the second shuffle start picking up Market Squares.
Market Squares and hideouts, yeah.
The thing is, like, I don't care if I draw Market Squares dead as long as I get a Monastery in hand too.
It's pretty hot, yeah.
Yeah, this is not. There's a lot of. Yeah. There's a lot. What other openers could you play with? The Sacrifice thing sounds pretty good, like what you said.
I mean, I would rather use that card to trash estates than Monastery.
Because you get some points.
Yeah, and also it's a little bit better for the deck moving forward in some cases.
I don't think the points really matter.
I'm a little more concerned with it being a better card for the deck moving forward.
Yeah, okay. All right.
So, yeah.
Yeah, so what's your first 5 after the Puka?
Oh, geez. It might just be another Puka. It depends a lot, though. It depends how many villages I manage to get by that point.
Okay.
I don't know if you can hear this. Parker is screaming upstairs.
You ever pick up so like we talked about Courtiers pretty good. We talked about Merchant Guilds the thing that you're really getting is the Merchant Guilds. Are you ever see yourself picking up some Mystics?
No. I don't think I'm ever getting a Mystic. Courtier just seems better. And I mean, it gives me a buy. I don't think Mystic is good.
With how weak the draw is...
I don't want cantrip money. I don't want money that isn't a cantrip a lot of the time. I want to spin my wheels, man. I don't think I want the Mystic at all. I think Mystic and Trade Route are the cards that I definitely am not going to be getting here.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if that were the case. Like, don't get me wrong, I'm not going to say that I'm excited about getting a Mystic. I'm going to say you might get it not never just because it's not hurting your draw.
Like it could.
Yeah. I think you end up with 2 Raiders in the deck though. I think like you probably get 2 Raiders and you end up like staggering them so you play one every turn.
I mean, I'm not going to be actually drawing my deck every turn. My deck's not going to be that good or reliable. But I want to get Raiders in play for sure.
Yeah, maybe you get more than 2 so that you can play one as often as possible. Because like,
could be.
I really actually think that attack hurts a lot here.
I agree.
So
yeah. So I would, in a lot of cases, I would consider getting more than 2.
Yeah.
Let us know what you think. You can always shout at us in the Discord channel. We got some feedback last week about a build that I hadn't really taken seriously, and it allowed me to deep dive into it. It's a decent build, even though I think it's inferior to the one that I was suggesting. But, we still have our disagreements on that.
I've moved on with my life.
Yeah, but, I guess I should do that as well. Yeah. So you can do that in the Discord. You can comment on this video if you're watching this on YouTube, or if you're an audio listener, you can just head on over to adamhorton.com. There's a bunch of links at the top. It'll take you to all sorts of places where you can talk at us. We'd like to hear from you. We recently got 55 suggestions on new episodes, and we are going to be adding more than one of them to our list of episodes that we want to be doing in the future.
That was actually a really good list that we got from that one YouTube comment.
My favorite thing about it was that there were 55 of them, obviously. But past that, there were a number of really good ideas, and then there were also a number of really funny ideas.
Yeah.
Like common excuses for losing. That would be a really funny episode.
Yeah.
I don't think we could, actually do a whole episode on that, but
I might.
Okay.
Yeah,
Stay tuned to Making Luck, a Dominion podcast. We will maybe do an episode on that.
Common excuses for losing.
That's right. But yeah, thank you for listening. Please keep listening, and we'll talk to you later.
Yep. This episode is about Market Square, by the way, if you're listening.
What?
I'm talking to the listeners.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Could be the Easter egg.
Yeah, I'm just letting them know what they're getting themselves into this episode.
Normally,
gonna be Market
Easter
Square.
egg is after the episode, but
that's fine. Well, I know we've done a few that have happened before.
I mean,
haven't half of them been before the episode?
Well, I mean, they might happen as we record it before the episode, but they play after the episode.
Okay, so I mean, I don't know when you usually start the audio, what parts they start hearing.
Usually whenever it's funny.
Okay.
Welcome to Making Luck,
a Dominion. Oh, sorry, I forgot you were doing your thing.
That's a great intro.